Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. As I'm sure you've all realized, I have fixed my audio problem. A virus that continually mutes your microphone. Yes, that's what the problem was. And who knows what else it was doing.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's like sometimes the more obvious symptoms don't seem that malicious, but who knows what's going on in the background.
Yeah. So anyway, all taken care of. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you for the recommendations. And it's been a wonderful 2 days dealing with that. All right. This diabetes epidemic, I'm calling it an epidemic. Now, no one else is calling it an epidemic. I'm just using that because of, sensationalism is just really great for the bonus show. So I'm just, trumping that up a bit. But you tell me if you think it's an epidemic, because cases of diabetes have soared about 60% in the past decade in the UK. And I guess more than 3.3 million people have some form of the condition, up from 2.1 million in 2005. And this is, I guess, about 90% of the cases are type 2 diabetes, which is the form that's linked to diet and obesity. And so the question is, does the UK have the same type of food problems as the United States?
Well, I think they do, but just not to the same extent, was my understanding.
So it's kind of the same problem, but it's a bit more rampant here. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I remember that. That's what I recall reading, that there is this. It's a similar dynamic in the UK, but it's just not quite as bad as in the US. The conversation about whether this is an epidemic is interesting, because is this colloquially an epidemic? I think you could argue it probably is. Typically, epidemic refers to a high occurrence of an infectious disease. And obviously, the spread of diabetes is not an infectious disease by definition, but there's actually, you could say that there's a sort of social infectious nature of diabetes when we talk about type 2, in the sense that since it is connected to exercise and diet habits, and often those are passed down from parents to their kids and impacted societally, you could say that the spread of diabetes happens in a sort of infectious disease way. So is it an epidemic by the sort of medical definition? I guess we would say no. Is it an epidemic taking into consideration the incidence of it combined with the sort of culturally infectious nature of it? You could probably say it is.
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument. So for those who live in the UK, talk to me about this. Tell me what the food issue is over there. Do you have products that are just full of corn syrup and sugar and saturated fats and all of this stuff, all these unnecessary and nasty ingredients? Is that happening there? And what about fast food? What's the deal with fast food over there? What are people's diets like? I know there are the standard stereotypes about food in the UK, right? Fish and chips and blood sausage and bangers and mashed, and that's all people eat over there, right? Well, probably not, but just tell me what's going on with the food over there. I've never even set foot in that country, so all I see is what I see on TV. Dave, have you been there?
I have never been.
All right. Well, let's move over to Japan here. There's this tradition in Japan that has been going on since 1963, and it's a tradition where when you become a centenarian, when you hit 100 years old, the government would, or the prime minister, technically, would present you with a sake dish, a silver sake dish, worth about $64, as part of the country's respect for the aged day celebrations. And that's, that was the tradition. So they are putting an end to this because in 1963, there were 153 individuals that were given cups. Last year, there were almost 30,000.
Right. I was going to say it must be because of it's hard to keep up now. And Japan has, for a long time, had more centenarians than many other countries, and now it seems to be happening even more. And when I first read the headline, I assumed it was because there were just too many people.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. Too many people hitting that age, and of course, on the opposite end, not enough people being born. That is a huge problem as well. So Japan's life expectancy, the country overall, their life expectancy is the best in the world. Men live on average, I guess, to the age of 80, and women reach about an average of 87. In the U.S., that's 76 and 81, respectively. So they had to end this tradition, which I guess in 2014 reached costs of $2 million US dollars, roughly, to keep doing this.
It's really not that much.
No, it really doesn't seem like that much, but $2 million in 2014, it, I guess, every year adds up, but it doesn't really seem like that much. I don't know. They could have just made smaller dishes, or perhaps don't use silver. I don't know. It just seemed like a nice tradition, but it's I guess become too expensive. So anyway, of course, they're still having a lot of problems with trying to get people to have babies, but I say it's not a problem. Just let nature take its course, and don't force it. That's my advice to Japan. Will anyone listen? I doubt it. Dave, you remember the devil statue in Vancouver?
Yep.
With the erect penis and all of that. It was quickly taken down, but it made headlines worldwide. And there was a petition to bring it back. Of course, despite the supporters, it did not get brought back.
Sad.
And now, what? Go ahead.
Very sad.
Very sad. It was. I really liked the statue. And now the devil statue has a female counterpart. There is a new one. And it is on top of an intersection. This time it's female. It's naked. One hand is in the air with what looks like, I don't know, some type of bracelet or something on one arm.
Yeah.
Maybe both arms. But there's horns, and there are nipples, and it's pregnant. It's white, not red. And I don't know. That's pretty much it. I'm a fan. I hope it stays.
What is it that you like about this, though?
It just adds some flair to, I understand that you just can't have a city or society where everyone puts up a piece of artwork wherever they want, whenever they want, because eventually I think it would be disastrous.
It would be anarchy.
It would be anarchy. I guess you could have some restrictions, and it might make for an interesting section of town or place. Like in Austin, there was a place where there were just, I guess you could say, people spray painting, and different types of artists would put stuff up in this area, and they could do whatever they wanted, and that was kind of cool. So anyway, this is the next statue here. I wonder what the third statue will look like. Maybe it will be some type of devil child. But I predict that this one will be taken down as well, if it hasn't already. But I don't know. It's just kind of cool. I just thought I would talk about it because I'm a fan, and I'd like to see more satanic artwork in public places. Is that fair?
Absolutely fair.
Okay. That's all I'm asking for. And one more story today. This is incredible. A band from Slovenia has played in North Korea. The band is called Laibach, and they are the first Western rock group, as they are being called, to play inside North Korea. There are pictures. It seems like they played in one of these big stadiums. They played with North Korean propaganda posters projected onto the screen behind them. And the set list is pretty interesting. They played, I guess, some songs from The Sound of Music, which is one of the few movies that North Koreans are allowed to watch. And I guess there was this journalist that visited Pyongyang, and someone from North Korea complained to them that he had to watch The Sound of Music more than 100 times, and that it was, quote, our English language textbook at the university. So I guess there were some numbers from The Sound of Music.
The funniest part, Louis, is that the pictures of the audience make it seem like everybody's at a play, you know, not at a rock concert.
Yes, because in North Korea, when you're watching something, you just sit down quietly and watch. And I suppose after the song is over, you clap, and then you're quiet again. It's you know, if you don't, perhaps if you deviate from that, you're shot. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. And then your whole family is killed or put into camps. So they played Across the Universe from the Beatles, and it's an interesting one. The Final Countdown by Europe.
Classic.
Yeah, it's a strange mix of songs. But, Dave, let's just say that I know you don't support the North Korean regime at all, but you've been in bands. Let's say you're in a band. For some crazy reason, you are asked to play in Pyongyang. Do you graciously accept this offer just to see what the experience is like? I mean, how could you say no?
Probably, yeah. I don't see, I mean, as long as it was going to be, I had every reason to think it was going to be relatively safe and all of that, I would. I mean, I'd be worried because we've done a lot of negative coverage of North Korea. So I'd be worried that it's a front to get me in the country and then imprison me or something like that. But
well, oh yeah, I mean, just
let's assume that I wasn't worried about those specifics. Yes, I absolutely would play a show in Pyongyang. Even
knowing that money that should be spent on food for the starving citizens of that country will be spent on you being flown to North Korea and playing there.
I think the amount that would be spent on me flying to North Korea and playing there would be certainly valuable in the sense that I would be able to come back with information and increase awareness about North Korea. I mean, I think it would be a relatively small amount of money, which would then give me the sort of ammunition and information to talk about the experience and sort of inform about what's going on there. So I think that it would be a fair expenditure of money.
And what if while you were there, just for the sake of throwing out ridiculous hypotheticals, much like what happened with Dennis Rodman, let's say that Kim Jong-un was so taken with your performance that he approaches you in person after the show and wants to befriend you. Do you pretend to be his friend just to I don't know, learn about the country, learn about him, see what's going on, see what you can find out?
Do you
say,
of course I do?
Okay. So pretending to be his friend is the right thing to do because it will give you invaluable information about him, the regime, the country, and all of that.
Think about what I could come back and talk about in this country, both in terms of in media to inform people about what's going on, and I'm sure government officials would want to debrief me. I mean, absolutely I would do that.
Yeah, I guess I would too. So anyway, congratulations to Laibach and their North Korean performance. I'm sure it was a concert that they will remember for the rest of their lives. And David, thank you for joining me. It's good to have a working microphone. Glad to be back.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.